Thank you all for being with us today. Let me start with introductions. On my left is Paris Pratt, the Assistant Special Agent in charge of DEA Pittsburgh. On my right, Ken Cleveley, the Special Agent in charge for the U.S. Postal Service, Office of Inspector General. I'd like to take us back to 2018, when I became United States Attorney, and paint the picture of what we were facing as law enforcement. In 2018, we were in the midst of the greatest drug crisis in American history. We were in the midst of an opioid crisis that impacted every neighborhood, every community, every family in Western Pennsylvania. As we know too well, over 67,000 Americans died of overdose deaths in 2018, including 735 here in Allegheny County. And Allegheny County in Western Pennsylvania, as I said at the time, was truly ground zero of the opioid crisis. And so for law enforcement, this was an all-hands-on-deck moment. All law enforcement partners, state, federal, local, stood shoulder to shoulder in attacking the opioid crisis and drug trafficking. And we were relentless in our pursuit of drug dealers and drug organizations. And we applied maximum pressure. And in the 2 years since 2018, since I became U.S. Attorney, we have prosecuted more drug dealers and more drug organizations, dismantled more organizations and gangs than in any time in the history of this office. At the same time, we have experienced another troubling trend. We have seen a dramatic increase in cartel activity in Western Pennsylvania. The cartels have extensive distribution networks in every corner of the Commonwealth, every corner of the United States. And we have seen this change in each of the drugs that are sold in Western Pennsylvania as well. In fentanyl, when we started disrupting fentanyl sales that were coming directly from China, that distribution and production shifted to Mexico, both with pure fentanyl, with fake oxys and pressed pills, and also drugs that were laced with fentanyl, including cocaine and marijuana. Methamphetamine, we saw a significant change in methamphetamine. Gone were the days of people making it in their garage and their basement. Now all of the methamphetamine that we are seeing in Western Pennsylvania is cartel methamphetamine with the 97% purity levels. Last month we announced a 38-person takedown of a meth ring that spanned from Mexico to Atlanta to Erie and all the way to Clearfield County. And all of the meth distributed in that ring was cartel meth. Cocaine, again, we are seeing the majority of the cocaine that's being sold and distributed in Western Pennsylvania coming from Mexico, coming directly from the cartels. So in the midst of this all-hands-on-deck moment, we also asked ourselves, what else can we bring to bear to this fight? What other resources are available? The Office of National Drug Control Policy sits in the White House, and they run an entity called the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Network. In 2018, we were the largest metropolitan area that had not been designated as a high-intensity drug trafficking area, or HIDTA for short. We approached the White House and asked for this designation for 3 of the counties that had been most significantly impacted by the opioid crisis: Allegheny, Washington, Beaver counties. The White House granted that designation, and since that time, we have stood up 8 HIDTA task forces comprised of state, federal, and local law enforcement working, again, shoulder to shoulder to combat drug trafficking. Over $2 million, $3 million has been distributed to local partners. Why is this important? This is important because these resources go directly to our state and local partners for critical resources. The task forces have increased access to intelligence and analytics. They have new tools to take the fight offensively to drug organizations coming into Western Pennsylvania. So we work side by side with our state and local partners to disrupt and prosecute entire drug organizations. And the HIDTA task forces have been investigating and bringing cases both in state and federal court. So today, we are pleased to announce the most significant HIDTA investigation and prosecution since our designation by the White House last year. We are pleased to announce Operation Tripwire. Following a 7-month wiretap investigation which used all of the tools that law enforcement had, extensive surveillance and seizures. A federal grand jury sitting in Pittsburgh indicted 27 defendants in Pittsburgh, California, Arizona, and Tennessee for cocaine trafficking and firearms charges. Now folks, this is a major organization that was trafficking hundreds of kilograms of cocaine across the entire country and had direct ties to the Sinaloan cartel in Mexico. On Wednesday, federal agents executed arrest warrants and search warrants in homes and businesses in Pittsburgh and Los Angeles and Arizona. During the execution of those searches, over $500,000 in cash was seized and over 50 kilograms of cocaine. This, in addition to what was seized during the course of the investigation, brought the total seizures to over 90 kilograms of cocaine and $1.3 million in cash. And some of the seizures are represented in the exhibits that you can see. To my left, we have a seizure of over $600,000 in cash that was seized during a traffic stop in California. We also have a cocaine brick that was stamped Gucci, that was an intercepted parcel sent between Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. On the right, we have the seizure of 26 kilograms of cocaine that was taken from a truck traveling across the country. This designation by the White House as a HIDTA area has been absolutely critical to our ability to fight cartels. And the defendants in Operation Tripwire that were indicted today represent high-level members, distributors, stash house managers, and couriers of a network that spanned the country and was directly supplied by the Sinaloan cartel. And as always, our goal in the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Department of Justice is to take down an entire organization. We want to rip this weed out by its roots. And this is true of our fight against cartels as well. And so on Wednesday, we did this. We took down an entire network that spanned the country and was bringing this poison into our communities. And so it was a great day for Pittsburgh, and it was a great day for the good guys. This was an international operation, and it shows that our law enforcement partners can use the most sophisticated investigative techniques to take down traffickers at the highest level. I want to thank DEA Pittsburgh and the U.S. Postal Service, OIG, for leading this investigation that resulted in our prosecution. And it included, again, a coalition of partners from around the country. The HIDTA task forces in DEA Los Angeles, in Tucson, Arizona, in New York, Nashville, Tennessee, the DEA Special Operations Division, and DEA resources in Mexico. We also want to thank our partners locally, the Pennsylvania State Police, the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, Allegheny County Police Department, and the police departments from Newcastle and Monessen, without which we would not have been successful in this investigation. Now, in closing, I think it's important to remember that in this investigation and throughout the Commonwealth, the men and women of law enforcement have been out every day through the pandemic. They have been fighting cartels. They have been fighting to keep the poison that the cartels are selling out of the hands of our friends and our neighbors and our children. And these brave men and women of law enforcement deserve not only our thanks, but truly they deserve to be celebrated. I'd like to now introduce Paris Pratt, the ASAC for DEA Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Operation Tripwire was an extremely successful international investigation because of federal, state, and local partnerships and cooperation here in Western PA. Operation Tripwire was investigated for approximately 2 years before ending in several arrests and seizures of drugs and guns. Mr. Marat, on my right, was a major cocaine supplier for Western Pennsylvania. He was being supplied by some high-level cocaine traffickers from Los Angeles. His Los Angeles suppliers were being supplied by a target in Mexico. The drugs were being sent from Mexico to various states here in the U.S., to include, obviously, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We seized over $1 million, as Mr. Brady mentioned. We've also seized approximately 64 kilograms of cocaine and 20 pounds of marijuana during the duration of this investigation. But lastly, I'd like to thank and highlight the law enforcement community. And on behalf of DEA Pittsburgh, a special thanks to DEA Mexico, DEA Tucson, and DEA Los Angeles for their cooperation and participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Paris. Now I'd like to introduce Ken Cleveley, Special Agent in charge of the U.S. Postal Service Office of Inspector General.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. The Postal Service OIG plays a key role in maintaining the integrity of America's postal system. We achieve our mission of helping ensure confidence in the postal system through investigations and audits. The Postal Service OIG employs more than 1,000 special agents, auditors, and professional support personnel to meet the challenge of preserving that confidence. Postal Service OIG special agents conduct criminal investigations of those who abuse the postal system in order to have a deterrent effect of postal crimes. Operation Tripwire began in October 2018, when a special agent with the Postal Service OIG here in Pittsburgh identified an address that appeared to be receiving a large volume of suspicious parcels from California. The special agent discovered a suspect parcel intended for that target address. He developed sufficient evidence, obtained a federal search warrant, opened the parcel, and found that the parcel contained 4 kilos of cocaine. Using advanced data analytics, surveillance, and reviews of postal records and other investigative techniques, Postal Service OIG special agents, along with the DEA and local law enforcement across several states, identified dozens of suspects involved in this multinational drug trafficking organization. To date, investigators have seized a significant amount of cocaine, marijuana, and cash, resulting in enforcement actions in several cities yesterday. These indictments should serve as a warning to those drug traffickers who seek to abuse the postal system. Special agents with the Postal Service OIG will use advanced data analytics and all of our traditional law enforcement techniques to find out what drugs you are sending and where you are sending it to. We will work with our local law enforcement partners to seize your drugs, seize your money, and put you in prison. I want to thank U.S. Attorney Scott Brady, the DEA, and our local law enforcement officers who helped assist throughout Operation Tripwire. Thank you very much.